Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Women in Sectional Title webinar. I've been looking forward to this one, as I hope you have too. Every now and then, we set aside the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act and the Community Scheme Ombud Service Act and delve a little deeper into the human angle. If you'll remember, we've spoken to Teresa Mattison at the Wellness Warehouse. We unpacked the untethered soul with Lana Meltzer. I remember very well that we spoke about menopause with Corinne Neeb, who is a life coach. And Bianca Toman and Joanna Cleovelo also spoke to us about burnout as well as mental health. So I think it's really great today that we're speaking about different personality types because it makes a lot of different people to go around the world, and I'm very much aware that the Enneagram is something that we need to look into, and I have myself personally studied the Enneagram, so I think we're going to have a lot of fun today. So from before we look at that, I want to tell you what's on in the next few months for women and for our industry, sectional title industry. I think we're going to keep an eye in August on Women's Month, and we will post on this website exactly what functions are going to be taking place. So something, for example, called Unstoppably You by Action Coach is happening at the Radisson Blu on the 14th of August. We'll post that for you probably anytime from tomorrow. Have a look. It looks very, very good. Then, of course, our National Association of Managing Agents is going to be having their conference in Pretoria, and they're going to be talking about Back to the Future as a theme. So I think that's going to be incredibly good on the 15th and 16th of October. If you're a managing agent, please make an effort to be there. Of course, we always say thank you to our sponsors, to our fabulous loyal sponsors, We Connect You. They're a proudly South African company specializing in developing software solutions for the property management industry. They're committed to develop superior solutions and provide dedicated training and support systems. Absolutely fabulous team based in Somerset West. I see that Valerie from We Connect You has registered for this webinar, so I hope you're on, Valerie. We appreciate your loyalty and support. And then, of course, ASI Besture offers sectional title insurance with tailored risk management and insurance solutions. Their vision is to be the most significant financial services insurance company in South Africa. And from a really exciting point of view, we'll be live streaming from the ASI offices for our August webinar. So that's something to look forward to as well on insurance. But for now, we're talking about personality types and the Enneagram. And I would like to welcome our guest. It's my great pleasure to welcome our speaker, Michelle Bennetts. Michelle is an internationally respected inner life skills master coach, leadership development specialist, and Enneagram facilitator. For more than 2 decades, she's worked with leaders, teams, executives, and organizations, helping them better understand themselves, strengthen their relationships, and lead with greater authenticity and emotional intelligence. She's recognized as one of South Africa's leading Enneagram practitioners and trainers, and her work combines neuroscience, emotional intelligence, positive psychology, and the inner life skills coaching methodology. So today she joins us to share insights which I know for a fact are going to be incredibly valuable to all you ladies, and of course men who support the ladies out there today. Very warm welcome to you, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Marina. Absolute pleasure to share this space with you and all the participants that are joining us today. Hello, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. And so tell us, first of all, Inner Life Skills Master Coach, just tell us a little bit about that. What was your journey to get there, and how did you do, go forward on this?
Yes. It was quite a poignant moment. So I have another company in aviation safety and security, believe it or not. And I'd been running that for about 15 years. And I thought, this is not my passion. And I thought, if I could do anything, what would it be? And I wrote down all these things that I wanted to be, and coaching came up as one of them. So Inner Life Skills is an ICF accredited school. It's and I trained with them and achieved my master coach over a couple of years. And what I loved about them, which is very practical, and through that I was introduced to the Enneagram for the first time. People were throwing these numbers around, and I was like, what are you talking about? I'm curious, like, what does this all mean? And I found a South African teacher that you know very well, Marina, Pam Roo. And I did my first Enneagram workshop with her, and I was like, boom, like, what is this thing? This thing just is magical. And that started me on a journey of training with the Enneagram Institute in the States with Ginger Lappert Bogda, Beatrice Chestnut. These are all major Enneagram teachers around the world. And what was very clear to me in the beginnings of my Enneagram learning was it was introduced to me as kind of like a spiritual method of learning yourself. And I took a look at that and said, people in the world, in the working world, or people in their own individual development need to know this. And so started looking for Enneagram tools that had the kind of language and had the kind of content that is usable and palatable in those spaces. And that embarked on the next 15 years of bringing in both to individuals in government. Some of my clients are Google, NASA, Dropbox, all the banks in South Africa. And it's just been an incredible tool for people to really get to know yourself, because we can't create a healthy team or a healthy organization if we have individuals who are not self-aware. So the Enneagram really gives us that self-awareness. So Enneagram, just if some of you have never heard of it, it's a Greek word. So Ennea is Greek for 9, and the gram is anything written or drawn, which gives us the framework of the Enneagram that we're going to show you during this presentation.
Excellent. So tell us, and the Enneagram, as opposed to other personality frameworks, I mean, if you've been in the working world, you'll always have had access to all these
Yes.
personality types. So, training programs. So what's different here?
For sure. So the other methods, and I've worked with most of the other methods myself, and they have their value. But the fundamental difference between those and the Enneagram is that the others speak to behavior, how you show up. Whereas the Enneagram goes to what we call the core motivation, what's driving the behavior. You could have 4 people mowing the lawn at 5 o'clock in the morning, so they're doing exactly the same thing. One is doing it because my lawn must be perfect. The other one is doing it to escape the chaos in the house because kids are getting ready for school and everything's just a hustle bustle. And the other one might be taking revenge on the neighbors for keeping them up till 4 o'clock in the morning. So the Enneagram takes us to core motivation. The reality is if we're only working at behavior, this is kind of the tip of the iceberg. We want to create change. It's not long lasting. If we work at how we really operate, our operating system inside, which is the Enneagram, behavior starts to change by itself. And it is grounded behavior change. And the more that you get into the Enneagram, it also gives you a model for self-development, even though we're just introducing the model today.
So in effect, it's a map, right? It's a map.
Correct.
It shows you, and it's an ancient kind of map, and it takes you to you're born with a number. Am I right? Is just explain
Correct.
the different numbers and how you're born with that, and you can work to your healthy or unhealthy side.
Lovely. So the Enneagram is both nature and nurture. So we're all born with a particular nature. For any of those moms out there that have got more than one child, we know they came from the same space, but they are not exactly the same. So we know that we're born with a particular nature, but our life experiences certainly nurture that type as well. In different stages of our lives, it'll be magnified, so it is an ego protection cloak. So whatever is threatening me in my core, my Enneagram type is going to really show up and protect. But if my needs are being met, then the Enneagram doesn't need to express itself as much.
Okay.
What was the second part of your question? I just missed the
Maybe we
second
can,
part.
you know what, maybe we can, that while we talk about the different numbers and the different personality types that people will recognize, maybe you can talk through then also the sort of healthy and unhealthy side of those numbers if you want to share that Enneagram now, Michelle.
Yes, for sure. Let me do that. I did got it here. 1 second for me. For some reason, it's not displaying. I did all. Let me just close here for a moment. While we're talking, I had it all ready, and
That's
now
okay.
I did email it to you as well, Marina. Just maybe check on your email and see if it came through.
Okay, maybe,
I think
yeah.
because this is your, there we go. I think this might work. I'm usually very good with Zoom, folks, so please forgive me. Here we go, bringing it up to the screen right now.
Thank you. There we go. Oh, good.
Okay,
Nice. Lovely. Yeah.
so and just to let you know, I'm the chairperson of our AGM and our complex as well. So I understand the trials and tribulations that can occur in meetings and in between meetings and how we drive and support our complexes. So, and we just had our AGM last Saturday. Um, so working with all the different personalities can be a bit of a juggle. The first thing I want to tell you about the Enneagram is that you'll see that there are these 9 types showing up here. And you have every single one of these 9 types inside of you, but you lead with one. It's like having a left hand and a right hand. If you're right-handed, you automatically pick up a pen without thinking about it. And so when we're not aware of our Enneagram type, our type tends to run the show. So the first step in self-awareness is figuring out which type you are and getting to know that type and how it shows up, how we can utilize its best strengths, and how to recognize when we are in struggle and stress, which is where the non-resourceful behaviors of that type will emerge. So just very quickly going around the different types, we have the type 1. This is the one that I want. The core motivation of the one is to be right and to be good. So making sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. I want to make sure that we are doing things the right way. We have a plan or we have steps to do things the right way, and it's a right or wrong. So it can be a little bit rigid. In struggle, it can be highly critical, can be very rigid and a bit finger pointing. And I'm not saying these things as being negative behaviors, ladies. I'm saying that when we're in stress and struggle, the non-resourceful behaviors emerge. So I'm going to want the agenda. I want to follow things to the letter. My type 2 is my considerate helper. These are the types that the core motivation is to be loved and to be liked. And so I just want to help everybody, what everybody's needs are. I'll volunteer for anything that's going to be of help to others. So in the context of in a complex, there could be burnout here because I'm saying yes to everybody. I'm trying to help everybody. But on the other side, 2s are so in tune with what others need. They have they're less conscious of their own needs. Your type 3 is the competitive achiever. This is the type that wants to get things done, and not just done well, right? So this is going for success, whether it's a meeting or a project or whatever it is, very fast paced. So in leadership, for example, we can get quite a few 3s, and they lead from the front because the world is a race. We've got to win. We've got to win. I want to be the best. And people can be a bit left behind. On the downside, when 3s are so busy, the feeling side and the connection side can be lost because things need to get done. The work needs to get done. So if you're resonating with 3s out there, don't forget the family time and connections. The type 4, the intense creative, the core motivation here is to be unique and authentic. And so They're very deeply connected to their emotional world. Here, your 4s are innovators. They're creative thinkers. They want to think out the box and do things differently. Our type 5s, the quiet specialist, in your teams, these tend to be the quieter of the group, but their core motivation is to understand that, this world is just full of information and full of moving parts, and I feel safe if I have knowledge and understanding. So be aware in your meetings that this might be the type that you need to specifically say, hey, Bill, what are your thoughts? Because they don't have a tendency to just speak out. They're in their heads and they're thinking, but they're observing and they are absorbing so much that if you deliberately bring them into the conversation, you're going to have a lot of insightful information. Our type 6 is the loyal skeptic. The core motivation for the 6 is to be safe and to belong. And so the loyalty, I want to create a sense of trust and belonging in my friendship groups, in my teams, in the organization. Trust is fundamental for the 6. And the skeptical part is asking questions. So we want to install this in the complex. What is the risk? What is the cost? What have we considered, how this affects all of the other residents? What could go wrong? What do we need to plan for? So they're exceptional troubleshooters, but on the low side, the doubt can become a little bit overwhelming and prevent me from going, but what could go right? This could actually be a really good addition. Our type 7s, the enthusiastic visionary, these are the types that are looking into the future. Everything is rosy, everything is fine, and I don't want to be stuck or bored. So I love to have a variety of things that are stimulating. Looking into future possibilities, a little bit of rose-tinted glasses, and tend to see sometimes things a little bit more positive than they actually are. So it'll be fine, things are going to be great, and maybe gloss over the elephant in the room that is painful to face but needs to be addressed. Our type 8, which is the active controller, this is the type that moves into swift decision making. These types are big and bold, quite recognizable. They'll make their voice heard. They're not one to sit back and not, especially if there's not leadership in the room. If there's no leadership, they will step into that role. Very straight to the point and blunt. If they're in struggle, we see their anger come to the fore and they can express their anger. And it's not an anger that they mean to take personally. Anger actually energizes them. And so the big, bold expression of what's going on, and other people can feel intimidated by that kind of energy, but it's not actually meant to hurt. 8s fight for justice. 8s fight for what's right. But they can be often misunderstood. And then we have the type 9, the adaptive peacemaker. The core motivation for the type 9 is to have peace and harmony and balance. And so these look a lot like 2s because they're very gentle, they're very kind in their approach. Their superpower is listening. And they've lived their lives through the eyes of another because they want to avoid conflict at all costs. So I'd rather see through you or side with you than really stand on my own and risk being getting that conflict back. But of course, in avoiding conflict, we can create conflict because we're not addressing things. So 9s can see everybody's point of view equally. They're great mediators and diplomats, but the conflict comes in is that I'm seeing everybody's point of view, but when I need to make a decision, I'm going to create conflict because I'm going to take sides of one or the other. So that can be a little bit challenging. So those are the 9 Enneagram types with the core motivation. And once you're landing on your core type, we've got, what's wonderful about it is that you know from the get-go what are the defense mechanisms of this type, what gets them going, what switches them off, how we can communicate with them, and so forth. So that's just a very quick overview of the 9 types.
So it's important to know who you are, what your personality type is. And I think I want to share something with you. When we mentioned Pam, I went on a workshop a while ago. It was actually a full weekend workshop on the Enneagram. And the one thing, Michelle, that struck me, and I was really blown away by it, is Pam made all of us, once we had worked out what number we were, she made all of us come into the big lounge and she said, right, I'm going to put some music on. I don't know if she did that, if you've done this. Put some music on, and then all the ones must get together and they must all go dance in the middle of the room. And she did that with every single personality type.
Yes.
Well, you could have blown me away, well, struck me down. I don't know what you could have done, but every personality type danced in a similar way. So all the ones were, quite mission on a mission, and what all the eights, when you say the eights are the sort of dominant type, they were like cowboys, like rodeo. It was unbelievable,
Yes.
absolutely. Then you get the very sort of light on your feet, more fives, and the nines were just chilled, like they were in Cape Town, and just like just chilled. It was
Yeah.
incredible for me. That was the biggest wake up call about these
Yeah.
personality types. Truly, also in
Well, this
relationships, not so like your relationship with your partner. Um,
100%.
yeah, I
Well, this
think
is something that is so important for our listeners, is that the 9 types have completely different worldviews. You can look at the same thing and have completely different interpretations of it. So when you're sitting in meetings and you're going, how can you not see that this is the priority? And the other person's going, how can you not see this as a priority? And they're fundamentally different. And to your point, so I've also got Enneagram tools for couples where we put spouses together so we can see how our Enneagram styles actually communicate to each other, parent together, talk about finances and all that kind of thing. But also, it's been so valuable in parenting for me.
yeah,
So I'm an Enneagram type 3, which is the competitive achiever, and I want my kids to achieve. And pushing, 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 and never forget the day my son, we came home and he was at a gala and he'd been dropped from the A team to the B team. And I was mortified. I was like, what? Ready to storm in the school and go, what is this all about? And he swam the B team and he came home, Mom, I had the best time ever. There was no pressure. I was in the pool the whole afternoon. And I realized I'm allowing my type to run the show even of my children, instead of allowing them to discover their own, who they are. So the Enneagram comes into wherever we are in our own self-development and in every way that we're relating with others.
absolutely. So, what would you say, for example, if you've got like a concrete example? So, say you've got the type one, the reformer, the strict perfectionist who wants everything done correctly, and a type eight, who's the challenger and who wants justice. That kind of person who hits you in the chest, that kind of, and
Yes.
usually the type eights are quite big people, also, not like the tough kind of looking people in a way. How would you deal with them if they clash in a meeting about enforcing rules, or approving a levy, or something like that?
Yes. So interestingly, we do have that kind of dynamic. So in with eights that are really in a resourceful state, they can any type, when you're all in a resourceful state, we can all get along. Eights in a resourceful space can really respect the ones because I can have really big ideas, and the type ones, because they're so methodical and they can put together the systems that are there. The eights appreciate the ones because I can go on to the next project because I can leave the ones to do it. I know they're going to do it the right way, and I can come back at a stage and, it will all be done. Where the clash can come, perhaps, is that the eight wants to just jump into something, and the ones will start the questioning, well, is that the right thing? Have we considered all of the factors? And the eights kind of go, we don't need to worry about that. Let's just go for it. We're not going to die. Let's just go. And the ones will go, but no, there's a process, there's a protocol. Um, and so for me, when I'm chairing our AGMs and our meetings, I think what's so important is the grounding of the group and putting down the ground rules so that there are type eights. I've got quite an unhealthy type 8 in our complex, And I set the ground rules right from the beginning that we talk to each other as neighbors, we are cordial, we are respectful. And if you cannot manage that, then you need to, we're not going to entertain that behavior. So I think, as chairperson to facilitate, you have to take on a facilitation role to ensure that those basic respect rules are considered, and also to be timiest. So bold types like the eights, they can take up a lot of airtime. They want to hold that microphone. And so I make it very clear that, if there's something to be said, 5 minutes is your max. And then we're making decisions and we're moving on.
Mm. Sure, and then you get the guy who's always late, the lady who's always late, and is the peacekeeper and wants to be the peacekeeper, probably your nine, I would say, but then struggles to possibly make a decision because they're sort of procrastinating over everything. How do you
Yes.
bring out the best or the healthiest side of that number?
So especially if they're on your board, this can be very challenging because, you're dealing with neighbors who have things that they need to do, or they have complaints that are happening. And so, when we are creating our boards or we're volunteering, we know that we all volunteer. Why we volunteer for this job, I don't know, but we do because we want to help and we want our neighbors to live in peace and harmony. I think it's very important that once the volunteers are coming and the board is meeting, that before we're diving into the human doing of running or helping to run the complex, we start with the human being part. Now, as human beings, we do have a lot of human doing conversations. What are we going to do? What do we need to install? As opposed to sitting as a board and saying, okay, as a board, what do each of us bring to the table? We're going to be dealing with conflict. How are you going to be working with that? So that we're basically contracting with each individual of the team. So even if we have the nine that is avoiding the conflict, we say to the nine, if that's coming to the fore, we need to understand that we're creating conflict if we're avoiding conflict. And for conflict for a nine can be choosing what to eat for dinner. Right. So some of us will see conflict as, right, I've got to get in there and I've got to hammer this down. For a nine, if my husband is saying, they want Thai for dinner and I want Italian, I'm just going to go with that option because I don't want to create the conflict. So conflict is, maybe you want to change the word in terms of healthy confrontation, softening the words of conflict so that it feels more palatable for the nine, and letting them realize that the only way of resolving conflict is going through it, not avoiding it, not going around it, but that in itself is actually going to resolve conflict. So I feel that in the beginning, once a new board is formed, let's have a human being conversation and talk about what's easy for me to do, what's difficult for me to do, because a real team is not just a collection of people working together. It is seeing where I can assist you with my strengths and where you need me, I can blend into that. So no one
Absolutely.
is standing alone in their time.
Yeah, correct. I see Denise says, will the presentation be available after the session? Every single webinar we've done, Denise, and they're probably over 60, 65 now, I think are available on the Women in Sectional Title on the website. And you just go on under events, under the events page, and you can actually watch every single one of those webinars there. Michelle, I must tell you that you sent out an email to me as well to ask me for 10 or so people from our office, and you would send links to them to be able to do the test, because there is an Enneagram test that you do to find out your own number, because you need
Yeah.
to know what that is. Sometimes we don't have time to go on workshops or anything like that. And let me tell you, that really created such interest. Everybody who did the test came to sit with me, they came to see me, and it was for me interesting. Oh my gosh, that youngster who was an associate lawyer, who was a bit quiet, wasn't showing that much initiative, is actually a three. So that almost got me saying, all right, well, if you're a three, I'm going to give you more. I'm going to give you more because I know you're going to run out the box there and really work hard and get to where you want to go. a lot of helpers in my office, a lot of twos in my office. And to make use of that, I think is really important to understand them. But also, I suppose the unhealthy, or what word did you use? Not well
Non-resourceful.
non-resourceful part of a two being very helpful is almost like a martyrdom, because then they become victims and they say, well, everybody's against me and I always help everybody and everyone's against me. So it
Yeah.
started to really, and then there was an eight. I thought there was the one lady was an eight. I thought, gosh, absolutely, it makes sense now. So it opens your eyes to all of these things.
Yes. So that's the thing. We cannot tell an Enneagram type, a person's Enneagram type, by looking at them. Because when we're getting to know people, we're just looking at behavior, how they show up, how they speak, how they look, and it's not telling us the inner workings of the type. And you can know a person for years, and once they do the test, it's like, oh my gosh. So from a leadership perspective, it's such a powerhouse of a tool, because you can then adapt your leadership where you know it's going to bring out the best in that person. And you're not sitting in wonderment of like, why is my team not motivated? Let's have a team, enjoyment day together. That'll be team building. No, if I know the type, I know how to bring out the best in you. And what's so wonderful is that as a team, and I work with teams that are newly formed, when we use the Enneagram, I know from day one, what are the things that are going to tick this person off? What are the defense mechanisms? What are their high sides? How can I develop those? Which without that takes you years, if not more, to really get to know. And so as a coach that coaches both individually and in organizations, what I love about it is that I'm starting from a space of real solid foundation, that we're not wasting 3 or 4 sessions getting to know what that is. We know from session 1, which for me, I like to get things done and get value right from the get-go.
Absolutely. So a lot of our listeners today are actually portfolio managers in the managing agencies. What kind of advice would you give them, or is there a specific type or number that is suitable to the job, or not suitable possibly, because they absorb a lot of tension? Portfolio managers who sit at meetings and who've got to navigate all these personalities.
Yeah, great question. So every single type could fulfill that role. Every single type can fulfill that role. It's all about how self-aware I am. So the Enneagram is not about boxing you into your type. It's recognizing the box that you've been all your life. And the Enneagram, as a framework of human behavior, starts to show you how to bring, or what we say, integrate all the other 8 types into your approach. So when I'm faced with something, my go-to is, let's say I'm a 2, is, okay, I just want to help everybody. That's my go-to. But with the Enneagram, if I'm really working with it and I'm self-aware, I can sit there and say, hang on, the 2 is not going to be helpful here, because I'm always carrying the burden of doing the things that need to be done. What is actually another way that I can approach this that actually puts the responsibility on somebody else? Because, for example, as a 2, I'm doing so much and I'm helping everybody else. But that also prevents that person from taking on responsibility and accountability and taking some of the share of the load of the responsibility. So any type can perform any job. The Enneagram is not, it's not a skill. And so, the managing agent would need the standard skills to fulfill that role. The Enneagram gives us the flavor of our personality and recognizing how we can bring out the best in that. But we have access to all 9. So we can stop and say, you know what, I need to stop running the show here. Let me listen like the 9 and get as much information as possible. Let me put this into step by step as a 1 so that we have a plan to go ahead. So we can use all of the 9 steps to actually put plans together as well.
So it's not as simplistic as saying, I run a law firm and now I need to work out. I've got 20 people here in my law firm. I need to know how many, like what spread of 8s do I need? What spread of 2s do I need? That kind of thing. It's probably as those personality types, as you're faced with the personality types who happen to be in your business,
Yes.
the point is making them self-aware and helping them towards self-development by growth. Would you say that's
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay.
So we cannot use the Enneagram for hiring because then we're
Ah,
hiring stereotypically. I might say to somebody, oh, I need somebody that does detail. I need a one because they do detail so well. But if I've got in one that's not self-aware, you're going to have type ones that are spending 3 hours on doing the minutes of a meeting because they need to be perfect before they're sent on. And it's like, dude, it's just meetings. I don't think anybody reads minutes of a meeting. They can be highly critical of themselves and others and very rigid. So hire according to the skill set of the person. Once they're within the team, we do the Enneagram and we use that to help understand the team dynamics, help them integrate into the team and understand who else is in the zoo. So supporting them in that role after they've been hired is an incredible exercise.
okay, Sandy. Sandy's really one of our very loyal women in sectional title supporters. It was great to see her the other night as well at a function. Sandy says, which type will typically calm the owner who just doesn't want to listen, understand, or comply with the regulations? The one type that has this magic touch.
Mm, mm. That's a great question because we all have that capacity. I know that kind of as a three, because we want the best results, we can face things head on, but also in quite a like more of a charismatic way. So threes are very adaptable. They're kind of the chameleon of the Enneagram, so they can kind of connect with the person, see the energy, meet them there, and they are solutioneers. Um, Eights can be really great when we've got the problematic people in the complex that are just not complying. The eight is the challenger, will fight that fight to the bitter end. They will champion that and make that happen. Um, Sevens as well, they're looking to the positive outlook. And so they won't speak so much to the problem. They'll go, just for the benefit of the complex, and we'd, very neighborly. And we really would appreciate, if we can install this and we can all live in a happy, peaceful neighborhood. So those three come to mind, but any single type who you are can be a problem solver if you are, confident within yourself and you're coming with the right intention. So my advice to you, regardless of your type, is to not go in with the conversation regarding what you don't want, but focusing on what you do want, and also thinking about how do you want to walk away from that meeting? You want that person to feel that they're part of something, that we're coming to a solution, and that we're both feeling good. So coming with the outcome in mind and not just coming in with, hey, this is an issue, you need to do that, because once their defense mechanisms are up, their ears are closing. So we want to have the conversation about what we do want, not this is wrong, you're not doing this, you want to do that. We want to say we want peace and harmony. We want you to be able to, we want a solution to this. So speak to what the positive outcome, what we desire, as opposed to shutting down and focusing on the problems themselves.
Mm,
Sometimes you do have to call them out, I'll admit. Sometimes you have to say, right, we've done this a million times. Now we're drilling down. This needs to get done.
yeah.
And if you need the support, you're never alone. You have a board, you have people. If, draw on those strengths of your team, of your board.
And as women working in the space, whether you may be a trustee, woman trustee, as you are, you're the chair lady, or if you're a woman portfolio manager, does gender make a difference in the Enneagram? How does it work if you from a male dominated kind of environment that we're in?
That's a very interesting question. So I would say so mostly the types that have a bit of we don't there's a bit of a disparity. So the type 8 is a very patriarchal type, right? It's very masculine in energy, and it can kind of bring in that energy, and it's acceptable. And when we have type 8 females, we don't tend to see them because we're kind of expected to be a little bit sweeter and lighter. And when a type 8 female shows that fire, we have some quite derogatory terms, like, that might be throwing around, like she's a real bee, or she's so bossy, or, she's just so in your face. Whereas in a male-dominated world, that's completely acceptable. But there are equal amounts of type 8 male and females. On the other side is all type 2, which is a very matriarchal type. One doesn't see a lot of masculine type 2s showing up as warm and affectionate and that kind of thing. However, there are equal amount of male 2s, but they show their support, their kindness, and their help in different ways as well. What I would say is, when you know your Enneagram type and you start doing the work to be self-aware, you will be grounded, you will understand yourself, and you can stand your ground no matter which Enneagram is coming your way. And just to a point, if you're ever met with kind of hot energy, like, I always think of like parent-teacher meetings, teachers who sit there and parents are coming in going, my son, this, that, and the next thing. Any interaction that you're having, even with a personal relationship, behind that behavior is one of two things: pain or fear. And this is the same for the people in our complexes as well. So when we start with addressing the pain or the fear, we're not meeting conflict with conflict. We're actually finding a solution to what's behind what's in front of us. And think about how your heart opens more when you think about, oh, this person's just, they're giving me all of this attitude. Where's the fear? Where's the pain? When I address that, then actually the problem starts to resolve itself.
Thank you for that. And Tracy, Tracy says, Michelle, you've explained it all so succinctly. Thank you. I'm a 7 and I'm 20 years younger than the other trustees, who I suspect are a 9 and an 8. I struggle with the 9's inability to make clear decisions because he doesn't want to rock the boat, and then the 8 being strict, harsh, and impatient. How can I better handle these two personality types from my 7's strengths?
Okay. So, just because you're 20 years younger than everybody else does not mean that your voice doesn't matter, and that you don't, that you're not equal to people on the board, right? There's no hierarchy here. We might have titles, but we're all doing the same job. So for the 7 to the 8, let me just tell everybody. Tracy, is that you? Hey, Tracy. So Tracy, for you, remember, 8s are all about giving it straight and taking it straight. So if the 8 is really kind of dominating, taking over, and so forth, if you need to say, listen, you're not giving anybody an opportunity to speak, 8s will receive that. They don't want to, hi, we're just getting a think of it. The more you fluff it up, they're going to go like, cut all of that stuff away. Give it to me straight. That's how they like it. So say it straight. From the 7 to the 9, and I hear that phrase a lot, we don't want to rock the boat. Yes, you do. You will not trust a boat until it has gotten rocky and it has stabled itself. And think about this in relationships, the relationships that you have in your life now. There are times that have gone through really tough patches, and those that have been resolved are the relationships that you trust. So as a team, we want to be able to rock the boat, be uncomfortable, have courageous conversations, and still come together. If we don't do that and we don't have a solid basis of trust, we're never going to be high performing. So if you're phrasing this to the 9, it'll come across as 7 language, right? So it's like, let's think about what we could benefit from if we could see, even when we're in shaky times, we can stand together, because I believe we can stand together. So you can bring that optimism in the future of what our team could look like if we really spoke honestly in a solutioneering fashion. So you can still tap into the glory of what the 7 brings, but tap into what it is that those pain points that you want to raise. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you so much, Michelle. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
So I know what's going on behind all those screens of the people who haven't ever been exposed to the Enneagram. Everybody's saying, oh gosh, I want to work out what number I am. Right. I'm sure that's happening. And Sandy says, there are many variants of the Enneagram. Serena says, how do we take the test to see what number we are? Serena, when you do take the test, which we'll talk about now, I need you to tell me what you are, because I think I know what you are. Just so let's just have that private deal. Okay.
I'm glad you know. All right. Thanks.
So Michelle, what's the answer? I mean, how do people take the test? What is the best way to go on this?
So the best way to go, I've just put my email address into the chat, so copy that, email me directly. And what I will send you the link. I was just working out so it's in dollar form, so it's $20. So it's not a lot of money at all. So if you can work that out for me, Marina, I did do it this morning. So it's not an expensive questionnaire at all. It's going to take you probably around 25 minutes. Marina, how long did it take you to complete?
I would say give yourself a good 25 minutes, half an hour. And it's interesting. It was a really nice test. I mean, I've done a few in my lifetime, and this was by far the nicest one, the easiest one to do.
Yes, it's very conversational and it's asking for your input. So you also get a lot of self-reflection in this questionnaire. So I work with two different questionnaires, and like Marina said, I like the conversational style of this one, and it gives you a lovely report that you can read through. And what I usually do, if that's also something that you're interested in, so I've coached over 5,000 clients in their Enneagram. And so if you're interested in going further than that, once you've got your report, it's about understanding more about that. And so if you're wanting to book a session with me, we can go through your Enneagram type in greater detail, so that you know the full spectrum of the psychodynamics that go along with your Enneagram core type.
Excellent. Michelle, I could talk about this the whole day, quite seriously. I would encourage everybody out there, get to know about the Enneagram. It's worthwhile, honestly. It's not some sort of weird kind of thing. I believe in it. I resonate with it, and I think it can help us. However you take it, however seriously you get involved with it or not, it's helpful. It's about self-development, and it's about really running those meetings better and understanding that very difficult who in your meeting. I think it's going to help, and that's what Women in Sectional Title is all about. You've got steady support here, and you're always in a safe place. So thanks again, Michelle. Really appreciate you very much. And look forward to talking insurance next month at the ASI offices. So be sure to be there. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Take care. Thanks, Marina.
Pleasure.